right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to OP Radio. My name is Mac. I am your host, and I am joined today by my colleague Vivian, as well as another special guest. Before we get into that and the topic of the show, Vivian, do you want to say hi to the folks on OP Radio?
Yes. Good morning. Hello, everyone, or good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm Vivian from OP Labs. I am part of our BD team that works with centralized exchanges, wallets, and infrastructure partners. Super excited to have Alex from Coinbase Wallet here, who we've been working very closely with on a number of things. But today we're here to talk about one specific thing. I won't blow up the surprise if everyone doesn't know yet, but I'll let Alex introduce the topic.
Hey guys. Hey Mac. Hey Vivian. This is Alex Reese. I'm a product manager at Coinbase Wallet. Super excited to be here with you guys today.
We are super excited to have you, Alex. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, so before we get into the big topic of today's conversation, which people might be aware of if they've been watching Twitter, Alex, I'm actually just curious about your personal background and how you got started in crypto and working at Coinbase.
Yeah, sure. So I think the start of my journey begins around 2015. I was working in finance at the time. I remember there was an article in The Economist actually called "The Trust Machine" that I was reading, and it kind of happened, and it was about blockchain and Bitcoin, and it kind of happened at a fortuitous time. I was kind of in the middle of making a career transition from working in finance. I was in private equity at the time, and that just really sent me down the rabbit hole and got me really interested. And I was already kind of in the process of pivoting my career towards technology and what eventually would become product work. And from that day forward, just basically started spending enormous amounts of time on crypto, mainly as a hobby, frankly. At first, not really as a job. And then later on, kind of fast forward through 2016 and 2017, I'd kind of fully transitioned into working with technology companies and product at that point. And that was really when the kind of ICO boom was kicking off, and that sort of cycle in 2017, 2018. And it was just amazing how much the space had grown between 2015 and 2017. And I think I had the realization at that point, like, wow, this is like, basically like a real industry. There's actual, companies and projects being built in this space. And there was a ton of excitement at that time. And so, I'd started working in product and I really wanted to work in crypto full time. And so I actually started doing some product work in crypto in around 2017. Actually had a consulting kind of product gig with OpenSea, the NFT marketplace everyone knows about, really early on. And then I started working with a team of Ethereum developers and started a company that became later known as Zabo. And Zabo was a API business for connecting cryptocurrency accounts. So if anyone's familiar with like Plaid or Yodlee, we were essentially similar to that. So sort of, Plaid for crypto, if you will. And so worked on that as a co-founder between 2018 all the way up through 2021 when we were acquired by Coinbase. And so, joined the Coinbase team in 2021. And since I've been at Coinbase, have been a product manager and worked on a ton of different stuff, and have had the pleasure to join the Coinbase Wallet team. And on the Coinbase Wallet team, I lead primarily two areas. One is Coinbase Wallet developer products, and also our brand new Quest product, which I'm super excited to talk with you guys today about. So that's sort of a high level version of my journey into crypto and how I got to Coinbase specifically.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that, Alex. Always great to hear when someone can make a hobby a full-time job. That's how you know you're on the right track.
Totally. Yeah. I feel bad for people that don't work in crypto because it's just fun. I mean, it was the most interesting thing in 2015, and it feels like it's been that way ever since. So definitely feel lucky to be in the industry.
Absolutely. Okay, we could go one of two ways here. I think let's just jump into kind of one of the, in my opinion, the most exciting thing about today in today's space, which is what you just referenced, Alex, Quests on Coinbase Wallet. So could you give the folks listening, maybe just paint them a visual picture of what Quests on Coinbase Wallet is?
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, I think people are generally familiar with, Quest type products. And, the easiest way to think about it is that it's a incentivized way to learn about crypto. I mean, it's really simply that. And we've kind of, put that, natively inside Coinbase Wallet. So it's an end-to-end self-custodial flow, uses smart contracts for payout. And so, that's the product. And I think that a lot of people, again, are sort of familiar with the mental model of Quest and on-chain incentives. But I think that there's a couple things that Coinbase is bringing and doing that are really unique and that we're excited about. One is, just that there's 100 million plus Coinbase users, right? And so, and the interesting about that user base is that it's, newbies like your parents and your grandparents who may have a Coinbase account, and also very sophisticated folks. So it kind of it's a broad spectrum of people, but it's an enormous group of kind of crypto community, and we want to bring those folks on chain. And we think that Coinbase Wallet and Quest is an amazing way to do that. So I'd kind of point that out as being one of the interesting things of bringing 100 plus million people on chain. I think the other thing is that we're relying on the fact that those 100 million users are verified users. And so traditionally one of the tough things about growing in Web3, if you're a protocol or a DApp, has been A, finding the users, and then two, finding real users, right? There's a lot of these really sophisticated airdrop farmers, and it's been tough to do on-chain incentives historically. And we think we've really, helped solve that problem of, Sybil resistance and people kind of over farming these on-chain incentive programs by using Coinbase verification, right? We have these, 100 million plus real users, and that's really exciting. And certainly, this isn't the end of the story of kind of how to do, on-chain identity and kind of proof of humanity, if you will. But we think that we've, made a big step forward here with Coinbase Wallet and Wallet Quest. So that's a high level, and two of the things that we're really excited about it.
I love that. Super interesting. And I just want to highlight those over 100 million real users. As anyone in this space knows, it's sort of a perpetual arms race with bots and people trying to farm. And so I do think that really is something that sets Coinbase Wallet apart from other wallets in the space. Pulling back a little bit, Alex, I do want to talk more about Quest, but if we could just kind of zoom out. We've had a few crypto wallets on OP Radio before, and I always like to ask them this question just to kind of get their take. So if you could just explain to someone, like maybe say explain to your parents what a crypto wallet is, how do you convey that idea to them?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and I think if you probably asked 100 people, you might get 100 different answers. I think if you're talking about speaking it to like a general audience, like my parents, for example, and it's funny, I actually just onboarded my dad, who's in his 60s to Coinbase Wallet earlier last week, and kind of went through this process. I think the easiest way to just explain it is that it's a gateway into Web3. It's a starting place, and specifically for Coinbase Wallet, it's a self-custodial starting place where you can actually own your own assets in a self-custodial way. Of course, from like a technical perspective, wallets are just software that manages your keys, right? If we get down to the kind of fundamentals of what a wallet is, and if you go back to the early days, that's all that wallets were. Is they started out as key management software essentially, but what we've seen over time is that wallets have basically bundled all these different things, and today when you enter a wallet, it's many different things. So if we just take Coinbase Wallet as one example, it's obviously a place to manage your keys, but it's a place to see all your balances across all your networks. It's transaction history. It's a DApp browser, right, for you to literally go visit DApps and do things. It's a way to send and receive transactions, and it's also a way to do a bunch of other things like bridging, swapping, staking. And so I think the most kind of conclusive way to describe it is sort of your gateway into Web3, and for Coinbase Wallet specifically, that's to do that in a self custodial way. But there's definitely many other things under the hood, and I think we'll both see continued sort of bundling with wallets, where like more and more things get added to wallets, and actually probably also unbundling. I think people probably saw our wallet as a service announcement yesterday, so I think we'll kind of see wallets becoming like more platformized, where there's more features, and then also people building like more vertically and for specific use cases.
Yeah, that was a fantastic description. And I would say if wallets are a gateway to Web3, the Quest experience, which is like a learn to earn guided experience within the wallet, is just another way to sort of guide people into this process and maybe expose them to more of the other aspects of Web3. So, Alex, or maybe Vivian, maybe you could speak more to that, how we're doing that with Quest on Coinbase Wallet.
So I wanted to build on Alex's last question. I really like that framing that a wallet is just a gateway to Web3. My hot take of the moment is that wallet is a misnomer, and that it should be, because it puts in steps this thought that a wallet is just where, you hold your crypto assets. And it's so much more than that. This is, like you said, Alex, there's DApp browsers and like there's so many other features that are in wallets now. And really it's just an access point. It's the front end to the crypto economy, right? So, and actually, Alex, I'm really interested. Is Mr. Tree now an optimist? Has he delegated his OP and done swaps on Optimism?
Yeah, so he hasn't done the question. I was waiting till today, but I did get him set up with Coinbase Wallet. I did send him some ETH and USDC on Optimism. So he actually is Optimism Layer 2 native. His first experience on chain
Cool.
was on
Got it.
Optimism, which is pretty cool.
Alex, you know what
Yeah.
the next step is to get him a Motorhead's PFP.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, Coinbase Wallet has to support Optimism NFTs first. But anyway, so I think that I wanted to lead with that question about Alex, your dad, because the reason why when we started talking about Quest, why it was really exciting for Optimism is like one of the biggest challenges we see to bringing, more Web2 or like not crypto native users into the space is like, everybody that when they hear about crypto, like a lot of times the first thing they hear is like, oh, buy ETH or like buy some Bitcoin, buy some assets. And like they think of it as an investment tool almost. Whereas like there's actually so much you can do within crypto and people just don't know what to do. So our goal was to introduce people into what they can do within the Optimism ecosystem. And, swaps are kind of that entry point into having the right assets to do other things. And then, delegation of OP. I know I'm kind of skipping ahead and talking about the specific quest, but like delegation of OP is like now people can realize that when you hold the token, it's not just the utility goes beyond just like the asset. It's not like you can have governance utility behind it. You can participate in Optimism Collective's DAO and like actually having a say in the future of our protocol as well as the future of our collective. So like there's a lot of things that you can do within Web3 and within Optimism. And this was just like a small way to open that world to users that are not familiar with it.
Plus one to that, Vivian. And, we're doing so much interesting stuff related to governance at Optimism. And so I love the fact that there's a delegation quest and it exposes users to that experience. And, hopefully from there, they'll just continue to get further involved. I have a question for Alex, which is Alex, how do you think Optimism can further differentiate itself from different blockchains for Coinbase Wallet users?
Yeah, I think honestly, doing things like quests is a huge step forward. I mean, I just gave the example of sort of my dad sort of being an Optimism first user. I think that for a lot of our 100 million plus users who are learning about L2s for the first time, they're learning about wallets for the first time, really, and many of them are using wallets for the first time. I think Quest is going to for a lot of them make Optimism their very first experience. So I think you guys have done an amazing job, not just with Coinbase Wallet, but with with other partners in helping expose people to Web3 and not just Optimism, right? Just the sort of Web3 overall. And so I think that's a big step. I think the other two things are, or another big one that comes to mind is incentivizing developers. And I work on developers outside of Quest, and obviously in the medium to long run, users want to have products that solve their pain points, which means there needs to be apps, which means there needs to be developers. And so I think that something that Optimism can do and has done really well is create an ethos, create a community, and create a technology in the OP stack that attracts developers and builders that want to come settle this frontier and build stuff, which is ultimately going to be the thing in the long run that drives a lot of users. So fortunately, I think Optimism has been super focused on both of those things forward, and we've been lucky to support them both with Quest and then with things like our testnet faucets on Optimism and other things coming for the OP stack. But those are kind of two things that jump out at me, Mac.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Circling back to Quest on Coinbase Wallet, the current Quest that exists, just for people that are curious. And by the way, I just encourage you to go and try it out. Like download a Coinbase Wallet and do the Quest. We've talked about this a lot on OP Radio before, but it's a recurring theme that the best way to learn about this stuff is just to try it out, give it a try, and learn by doing. I think it can be a fun process as well. Certainly with Quest, that's the case. But so Quest on Coinbase Wallet right now, you can swap, you can delegate your OP. Vivian, maybe you want to speak just kind of in a broad sense as to what maybe people, because we have other Quest plan, what maybe they can expect.
Yeah. So the first two quests, the reason why we decided to lead with swaps and delegation of OP is because they're both kind of entryways into Optimism ecosystem. So swaps, like I said, it allows you to have access to different assets that you need within Optimism to do the different things in DeFi or NFT. And then delegation of OP, that was actually like our sly way of introducing people to what Optimism is and what Optimism Collective is and the ethos that we stand behind and public goods funding. So that was like, hey, learn a little bit more about Optimism. We're not just the layer 2 protocol selling Ethereum. We're much more than that. And then be a part of Optimism by taking your OP and delegating it to be a part of our governance. So what you can look forward to afterwards is kind of like the level 2, like level up in your interaction in Web3 and like really engage in DeFi and NFTs. So, we have a couple of really interesting DeFi partners and NFT partners lined up where you'll actually be able to like see what you can do in the world of decentralized finance and what you can do with NFTs. So look out for that.
Yeah, and again, I would just encourage people to look out for that stuff in app. If you want to try Coinbase Wallet, just go to coinbase.com/wallet/downloads and download the app that pertains to whatever your device you're using, whether that's Android and iPhone, and you can look out for some more quests coming on in the future. Okay, guys, I think we're actually kind of winding this thing down, pretty short and sweet, but do you two have anything else to add before we wrap this up?
Nothing from my side, Mac. I mean, I just want to say, thank you guys to the Optimism team for being such amazing partners. Obviously, we're incredibly stoked to be working with you. Incredibly excited to be, bringing Quest to Wallet. And, as my colleague Jesse likes to say, on chain is the next online. So we're hoping that this is going to be a pivotal product in doing that and getting, our 100 million over on chain and hopefully on Optimism, and then, many more beyond that. So appreciate you guys working with us on this.
I have one last spicy question for Alex. Your thoughts only. Do you think that in the future of Web3, that user, like your dad, for example, they should need to know what a network is? Like, do they need to know that when they are interacting in a DeFi app that it is on Optimism?
It's a really good question. I think that, so I'll give kind of two answers, Vivian. I think, right now where we are in sort of, public blockchains and crypto, it's very early, let's be honest, right? I mean, it's early days. And I think that's why we spend a lot of time talking about the technology and talking about the ethos, is because we're there are these frontiers and people are settling and trying to figure out which ones to be on. And so I think, in the near term, it is important that people know kind of what the difference is between these networks, that they are, getting the properties that they want of censorship resistance, decentralization, if, and depending on their use case, their needs may be different. And so that's kind of my first answer is I do think that, it's important to know about these things and kind of understand like why crypto and like why Optimism, why the OP stack, for example, especially if you're a developer. I think in the long game, though, it is fair to say that we should want, users to get a little bit out of the weeds and not care as much about these. If we've kind of done our jobs and built the right infrastructure, built the right applications, provided the right experiences, we want to get users out of the nitty-gritty details of the technical implementations of whether it's, Optimistic or ZK or X, Y, or Z, and just focus on what pain points is it solving for them, how's it adding value to their lives, and that should be the focus, right? And if you think about today, when we use products, whether it's, something in Web2 like Amazon or Google or really anything, as a user, you're not concerning yourselves with the underlying. Now, you may choose products and platforms because you believe in them, and I think that should always be the case for users, even in the end game. Like, users should know why they want to be in Web3, whether it's because they want to have strong property rights, so they want to protect their assets from seizure, or they want to have composability. But again, I think hopefully over time we can kind of pull them out of the weeds and focus more on the pain points and the value that we're driving.
A very diplomatic and concise answer, Alex. I thought that was great. Okay, I just want to echo Alex's earlier sentiment. I just want to thank everybody. A lot of people worked really hard on this for a long time. And speaking for myself and everybody at Optimism, we can't wait to continue this collaboration with Coinbase and Coinbase Wallet. So thank you, Alex, so much for joining us on OP Radio today. Thank you, Vivian, for joining us. And a reminder to all the listeners, you can listen to past episodes of OP Radio on YouTube, Spotify, Google, and Apple. With that, we're going to close this out. Thanks once again, everybody. We'll see you next week on the internet.